What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, the podcast. A very, three varies for three guests, a very special episode. It is our 200th episode. I didn't think I'd make it here because I didn't think I'd commit to something for that long, but here I am. And as I introduce our guests here, I'm also going to tell you all which episodes they previously appeared in. We're gonna go back a little bit. So first off, of the three fine gentlemen here, Scan was the first to appear on the show, the podcast, way back on episode 35. He then made another guest appearance on episode 100. He was our last anniversary guest. So shout out, Scan. Thank you for being here, good sir.
You know, I think I appreciate my commitment to the show being longer to my commitment to any relationship in my life. So it's fun to be here yet again.
Scan and I are dating. Moving on, we have Nutsy, who was episode 42. Also, Nutsy, I believe, is the only three-time, now four-time guest. So you guys have gotten familiar with him. Nutsy was 42, 133, and 184, and he's kind of become our launch week correspondent because that seems to be when you're always on.
I appreciate the opportunity to come back on. God, I wish I could go back to launch week and feel that level of optimism about where everything was going and how the year was going to go.
And lastly, here we have Drew, who was on episode 112. And just a warning for everybody who is listening or watching. If he gets too loud, his microphone automatically silences him. So there will be moments in which you don't know what he's saying. We're going to figure it out as a team.
I've told my team that I'm going to be very calm during this interview and that no profanity will be said. I also had my toes and fingers crossed when I said that. Good to be back, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, fine gentlemen, for being here. This is a celebration and just vibes with the homies. So for the people listening, you guys know that on a weekly basis, whether we have a guest or not, we talk about what's going on in the game. MLB The Show 24. And the game right now isn't exactly cash money. So we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about the current game. We, of course, are going to touch on it. That's how this podcast works. We are recording this about 10-ish days. What day is it? 11 days before you're listening to it. So we don't know exactly what's current at this very moment, but I doubt anything systematically is going to change. But then we're going to talk about fun stuff, happy stuff. Going to take your questions from the Discord. Join the Discord, link down below, and etc. So I guess let's just start talking about the negativo. We'll get that out the way. What the hell's wrong with this game? Who'd like to start? There's our forum. Open floor. Nutsy shaking his head. Drew uninstalled the game today. Scan's laughing. Who wants to start?
I can start it off if you want to. We'll start off in a nice, respectful, cordial manner.
Because there are very nice people that work on this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with MLB The Show, I think the main problem that people could probably point fingers to the most is packs. Packs being a lot of the content that comes out on the game. A lot of cards that people don't want to buy. They don't want to buy the packs. The cards just kind of go out the way that they do. And especially if you're a Cubs fan, like poor Drew over here, I mean, a lot of your favorite players you would have to be getting within said packs.
Drew has a good job. He can afford the stubs.
Capital One would like a word. Okay. Not to dive too much into the personal, but
yeah, it's unfortunate, right? Because like packs in a like healthy ultimate team environment should supplement content, boost content, enhance content. They should not be the content. Mm-hmm. And then to double down on how negative the pack situation is, so many of the cards we're getting are repeat cards from years before or repeat card series. Nothing truly, great word coming, scintillating. So I don't know what the fix is. I don't know if it's a resource conversation over at SDS. I don't know if Mr. Sony's got his fingers all in everything. He should ask for permission before he does that. But it's just overall, it seems like there's just a different direction. And even though it kind of seemed like it was shifting last year, this is more of an exponential shift that I think we were expecting.
Yeah.
There's no Right. And I have had plenty of conversations with devs over at STS. I have enjoyed every single one of my conversations. I think the people that work over there do a very good job. And I think that they really care about the state of the game and care about the way the game is going. I am going to completely let them off the hook on this. I think that they have no say in what's going on.
It feels like it.
I really think that they got their boss came down and said, listen, this is what we need to do. I have made a TikTok. Kenny, I know that you have made videos kind of explaining the financial situation of Sony, and not even just Sony, the video gaming landscape at large. And I think that you look at MLB The Show, it's really Sony's only annual release. It's a game that's going to release every year and give Sony a chance to make a little bit of extra income that they would not normally make with their other video game launches. And I think that that ultimately is why you're seeing what is happening go on with the game. The packs have been very forward, obviously, like Scam said. And then the other thing is, I really was looking forward to the power creep coming back this year. Like I didn't mind MLB The Show 23 as much as other people minded MLB The Show 23, but I did think Power Creep was going to make for a lot more engaging content throughout the year. What I severely underestimated is how crappy it feels to have 99 overall cards and then immediately have to fall back to 89s. Like it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at content dropping after, Team Affinity 3 had its issues, but I liked it as a whole. A lot of the 99s we got towards the end of last season were fun cards. And then we go down to 89s, and I'm looking at these packs coming out and looking at these cards. Outside of Trey Turner, there has not been a single card that has said or made me go spend my stubs. Like, there just hasn't. I bought some season collection filler just because some cards got down in stub cost. But outside of that, there has been not a single thing that made me want to jump on the game and grab a card, which ultimately, if you're going to have pack forward content and you want to make more income on the game, you think that would be counterintuitive, because if you're not putting out things that people want to go out and get, then you're not going to make the income on it. So that's kind of where I am. It's been tough, man. It's been tough.
Yeah. The only card I have purchased for actual use, and not just because they were cheap and I could fill my binder, is Season Award Clark Schmidt, because I'm a disgusting Yankee fan. And I felt bad that I think a week before that card came out, he went on the IL for 8 weeks. And I was like, I got to support my boy. Maybe it'll help him come back faster. So I use that card. That card's okay. But everything else has just been, it's, I don't know if it was short-sighted how they started Season 2. I appreciated how they expedited the XP process a little bit. That was a valid thing that we had valid complaints about, and that they were like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Let's kickstart you, kind of slingshot you down the line a little bit. So that was good. But unfortunately, I think they underestimated how many people would have, even if Live Series is not totally done, if they just have several team collections done, and they have a wild card, and they have this and they have that. So a couple people did not like what I said this in last podcast episode on YouTube, but I was like, literally not one of these Team Affinity cards is worth my time. Literally not one. Some of them are a ton of fun. Mark Canna, super fun. Zach Collins. Remember Zach Collins when we had that golden BR? Super fun. Like, there are fun cards. But if the end goal is for a card to compete for a God Squad spot, all of them were so severely underpowered in comparison to core and wild cards available to you that it became a homework grind. And the whole point of last year's complaints was to avoid homework. And yet here we are just doing homework every single time content comes out. So Drew has been patiently waiting to say his piece, and I would like to just let him say his nice things and compliment everybody and all that stuff.
You love the game, right, Drew?
It is June 14th. 2024.
Year of our Lord.
I have uninstalled the video game, and I am doing it out of a morality obligation, because out of everybody here today, I'm the smallest dude. I was hitting a real big stride about a year and a half ago, and when 23 came out, I had moved to a new city. I had gotten into a very serious relationship, and a lot of things took a back. I was in a different area with my job. A lot of things took a thing on the back burner. And because of the career that I'm in, and because of how much money I make from content creation, 23, I was just not having fun with it. And I'm like, listen, if I'm not having fun playing this game, I'm not going to stream this game. And that just turned into me kind of just not streaming for a while. But I obviously still caught up with everybody. I was paying attention to stuff on Twitter, and I saw the people talking about it, and I was like, I think the SDS that I know and love will take this information and they will make things different for the game moving forward. And when they announced power creep and that was going to be within the sets and seasons model, that I personally still to this day will go down in history saying that if done correctly, it could be really, really good.
Someone in my camp, finally. Though I think I've turned the corner to negativity, but for a long time I was banging that same drum.
I still think that I think that it could be done in the right way. I do not think SDS has enough of a genuine idea of how they want to do it, and I think that is why the sets and seasons model failed. And I got really excited like everybody else right around launch time, and when the game came out, I was super jacked to play it. And then when the game, and if you guys are, you guys follow me on Twitter, right? You guys saw at the beginning of the year, I was like, hey man, packs aren't bad, because I still believe strongly that when there needs to be a reason for people to spend stubs in the game. For at least since I've been playing Diamond Dynasty, which is back in 20, there has really never been a reason outside of live series collections to genuinely go out and spend stubs. Sure, there'll be a headliner or a chase pack card, but there's no reason to spend stubs on cards more often than not, unless it's a player that you genuinely love, like the Trey Turner or the Clark Schmidt or the another 900th. Can I swear on this show? I forget.
You could say whatever you want as long as it doesn't
Why are all the
actually
Cubs cards in the packs, man.
Yeah, we just don't need to offend people, but that's fine.
We're not gonna. No. This is on the record. It is not the devs' fault. I agree with that. The people at SDS, I genuinely think they do care. At the end of the day, it is exactly what Nutsy's saying. The people at the top are telling people what they have to work on, and that's unfortunately how it is. But the game's in a really bad spot right now. And the reason I uninstalled it personally is because I just don't want to continue playing the game. And at the end of the day, until people genuinely stop playing it, nothing ever is going to change. And the biggest kick in the face to me was that they made a really big deal on social media to sign these surveys and to do these surveys to show people, hey, we are 3/4 of the way through season 1. What are some things you genuinely want to see changed? And I can't speak for everybody, but I would imagine, based on, social media forums and the pulse of the community, that the pack forward content was something that people really complained about. And to see today that the only real content we are getting is just more packs to spend stubs on, when you go and look at the other programs tab and 95% of it is just season awards, it's just really disappointing. And I don't know I have ideas on how things can change, but I don't think it's going to really make a difference at this point. And it just really stinks to see, because I love this game. I love this community. I've bounced around a lot in my 6 years of streaming, and this is the place that I truly feel like at home. But I just can't play a game that I don't believe in. And I just don't believe in it right now, man. It really stinks.
Yeah.
It really stinks.
The frustrating part to me is they have a blueprint on how to make pack forward content work. All they have to do is look at the All-Star Game content we got last year. We got draft packs, we got All-Star Game packs, we got Home Run Derby packs. They had a program where you got one of each. They even gave you one of the draft packs for completely free when they dropped it. And that is year in, year out, one of everyone's favorite content drops. No one is going to complain about pack forward content if you give people the ability to get at least one of the packs in a grindable method. That's what it boils down to. But what you have right now is you have one program drop outside of seasons awards, but I don't even consider season awards the same concept, because
totally
for the
different.
longest time it's the bacon on the hamburger. It is supplemental content. We would always get a content drop, and then we get Tops Now tacked on to a different content drop. But we're going multiple weeks without programs. We're right at the beginning of the season, so it's been a little bit different. But the end of season 1, we were going 2-3 weeks without any sort of
it was a dead period,
and they were dropping 4 different chase packs in that 3-week period with no way to absolutely get them. And you're like, okay, well, how do I go out and get stubs? If you're not giving me programs to go grind, how do I go out and make stubs to drop 150,000 stubs every week on the new choice packs that you're putting out with these cards. And like, there is just a disconnect. There is just a disconnect on what they are trying to accomplish versus what is actually happening. And man, we are in a.
You could even compare this weekend thereabouts to a year ago for Father's Day. Last year's Father's Day program, I know, was criticized because the structure was weird. Some of the cards were sucky. That's kind of par for the course at this point. But it was a Father's Day program. It gave you 8 or 10 cards. Like it took a little bit of time to get through, which no one's going to complain if the grind is worth it. If you're giving us something to do and it's kind of fun, sure. What did they do for Father's Day this year? A conquest map where you play the Padres 6 times on rookie.
They gave you enough cards last year for a full theme team. It was a Father's Day program captain. That's how much content they gave.
And it was innovative conceptually with the father-son, and like I loved it, except the cards sucked mostly, but neither here nor there.
It really feels like, and I've said this to Scan a couple times, it really feels like what had happened is that they took a lot of the criticism from last year about a lot of the other programs feeling like homework, which you kind of already touched on, and they took that in not the direction that people wanted, where they are like, okay, the community really doesn't like all these other programs. We're just not going to give them to them anymore. And it stinks because even if we got, like the Father's Day program last year, maybe 1 or 2 of those cards were supplemental and like we're actually not supplemental, we're actually usable. But if you're giving people cards every week, it allows them to get to those collection rewards faster. And ultimately, if you're putting those in the game, you're wanting people to use them. Like you want people to use 99 Derek Jeter. You want to see people use Frank Thomas, Bob Gibson. And it's just weird that now it's all like, I hope you saved your stubs. Like if you go into season 2 and you didn't have live series done, I feel extremely bad for a lot of people that didn't do that, because I feel like you are extremely behind the 8 ball now in terms of like where you can actually go moving forward. But then even on the flip side, I have live series done. And basically, like you were saying earlier, Kenny, every card in Team Affinity is just, do you want to have the Devers boost or do you want to use the new cards that just came out?
To that point, though, this is one of my biggest mental issues where I still truly don't know where I fall is the captain thing. I think captains are a horrible thing for Diamond Dynasty. I think I could be swayed in another direction, but if you're looking at it in a vacuum, they give you these 4 cornerstone captains at the beginning of every season, right? Interesting idea, I guess. And then the cards that drop during at least the early stages of the season are basically catered for that boost. If that's the goal, they've accomplished that. If that's the goal. But I think that then kind of underscores the larger problem of every card coming out being manipulated to fit or not fit a certain boost, when all they should be focusing on doing is just putting out fun, good cards to use. Captain be damned. Maybe this is my own thing. Probably stupid of me. I hardly ever run a captain boost. I didn't run the Santana boost. I ran the Luis Castillo live series boost for like a game, and then I realized I just didn't like the way the lineup worked. I just want to use the cards I want to use. I don't care if they don't all thematically fit. I just want to use the cards I want to use. So I think from that vantage point, captains create a problem. And I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but that's at least how I feel.
I think a point to get out of that, it might be like tangential to what you're saying, is that I think the problem with captains is it really tries to funnel people to a couple lineups. And you saw it with the switch hitting captain before. You see it kind of this season with the Devers team, where people want that one captain. And the problem with the captains is, in theory, these cornerstones are just meant to boost up some cards to kickstart you in the season, and some of the other captains are meant to just give some more viability to cards and team builds you may not use. But they become a meta. It becomes a search for overpowered teams and ways to boost cards to a level where it is very difficult to lose without them. And that's what happened with the switch hitting team in the previous season, where there were so many switch hitting cards, everyone felt like they had to use it. So that's why I haven't liked it, because it hasn't been created or actually executed in a way where it feels like it's a fun supplement that can kind of even up to some other god squads. It's becoming a search for a meta and the thing that is overpowered at that current moment, which
And
I think is problematic for the world.
It's turned into Call of Duty. Like
Yeah.
if you're not running the meta boost with, you know, the red dot sight that's perfect and the underbarrel that's perfect that negates the amount of recoil the gun has, it's the exact same thing in MLB The Show. Like we're trying to min max lineups to such a ridiculous extent right now that it makes other things unviable, and it's super frustrating because like you can't just because contact and power are so important to the game of MLB The Show. If you go in with just like a raw dog team, which is a weird way to put it, but that's how I'm going to put it. If you go in with a raw dog team, you're always going to run into a team that has plus 15 power against on both sides. What are you going to do? You're just going to be at a 15 power disadvantage for the whole game. It's just like you can't do it. I liked the introduction of captains. I have slowly rolled back to realize that I only want captains to be actual theme teams, like actual team-based captains, because there has to be a way for me to bring like the Pirates build onto an equal footing as like a normal meta build. And in that sense, I think captains make sense. But when you're taking these like God Squad caliber cards and then boosting them to the gills, all of a sudden you're kind of taking away that ability to make a theme team viable. So that's kind of where I am at this point.
It's just so it's just so funny too, because theoretically speaking, the point of Diamond Dynasty, there are hundreds of cards, at sometimes thousands of cards. The point of Diamond Dynasty is to create a team that you want to play with and go play with it. And whether it's poor planning and releasing so many cards that are so jacked that they all look the same, or not creating enough viable cards that everyone's, or on accident creating these metas, like Scan was saying, or like we're all kind of saying, you make people play with the same lineups, and it's not fun. And I get comments frequently when I talk about the Santana boost because people love the Carlos Santana boost. Yeah. A lot of the comments always say, well, you can use the boost too. I'm aware of that, silly goose. I don't want to use it. I shouldn't have to feel like I need to use it. That's the whole point. I feel like I'm at such a disadvantage, or others might feel like they're at such a disadvantage, that the only way for them to compete is to use that same boost, even though they really don't want to. You should be able to play this game however you want. And that's the fundamental issue with it.
Dude, that's exactly how I felt today. Like I finally, one of the positives, and you mentioned it earlier, Kenny, one of the positives to this season so far is the increased XP. I'm already at 450,000 XP. I have the 95 overall bosses. I unlocked them today by finishing the season awards drop.
Chipper's very good, by the way.
Yeah, Chipper looks awesome. I legitimately hate the Devers boost because it made me have to alter my lineup in a way that I had to take cards that I wanted to play with out of my lineup to ensure that I got tier 3 of the boost. Yeah. So like Ken Griffey Jr. had to go into my lineup, and I know you're a big Edgar Martinez fan, so that this doesn't matter to you.
Big fan.
But like I had to take Eduardo Escobar or Jimmy Rollins out of my lineup because it forewent me from having the tier 3 Devers boost. And if you have that level of meta going on, you have run into you've went against what the point of Diamond Dynasty is, on being able to create your own team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this all central, like this is like a full circle moment, and I think you're talking about the switch hitting captain now to Devers captain. I think the problem, and there's a big problem that will be the show nowadays, is if you're someone who plays the game as to a certain level, like maybe you play very casually, very occasionally, then these things are neat. Like the cornerstones are fun ways to give you options that, you know, allow you to even yourself up with some other players that might not be running those teams. And I think that side of the game, it makes a lot of sense. But once you get to a certain type of player who plays the game consistently, maybe at a slightly higher level, as they're getting up to rank, you start to see these problems showcase themselves, where you have these meta team builds, you have content feel like it's not valuable because you've been grinding a bit more and got better cards. And it feels like, to me, it is this big central problem with the game nowadays. It's if you play the game a certain amount, it's tough to find that enjoyment in it because you see these problems kind of pop out in different directions. And then you're someone who plays a very, very little amount and is not really taking the game seriously and just wants to have fun. There's a lot of good in there still, but it feels like after a certain extent, in my eyes, these things showcase themselves. And I feel like it's like that with like almost anything in the game, with different types of content that comes out, with the mode structures and all that. It's tough being someone who like wants that baseball itch and enjoys playing this game like a lot throughout the week.
And this is semi-related to what you said, but thematically still like about the downsides of the game right now. There are very few things, in my opinion, that make you feel like you accomplished something anymore in the game. Like, there are people who are listening maybe who've never made World Series or who've never gone flawless, and those things should make you feel good if you ever, and you can do it, if you ever accomplish them. They can make you feel all sorts of nice. But in terms of like what you get for that other than a JPEG image, the rewards stink. There's no stub value in anything. There's no way to get stubs anywhere in this game. I remember MLB The Show 20 and 21. If you grinded the night an event came out, you could get the big card and sell it for 1 million stubs. Literally 1 million stubs you could get that card and sell it for. Maybe that was a little ridiculous. 1 million stubs is a lot. But generally speaking, no opportunities like that are anywhere in existence anymore.
May I introduce you to the D3 Structive Dude revamp to rank seasons? May I introduce you? I think I agree with you, man. I've said it a lot in basically every possible form I have available. A restructure to ranked specifically, especially now since we have the change to Battle Royale where you can't, which is and overall it's probably a good change. It's just weird that it came now instead of forever ago, where you can't really game what you're good at, what your flawless reward is. A genuine change to ranked seasons is, I think, needed at this point. Like, yeah, I want a weekend league too, but I think that you have a lot of smart people at SDS, a lot of people that are really, really smart and know what they are doing. A lot of people tapped into the community, guys like Seabrev, Ashley Sanders, people that know what we're craving. And I have come up with the blueprint. I think that could really work. I've talked about it a lot, but just like in general, without going into like an insane amount of detail, taking pages out of what Madden does and making ranked repeatable instead of the stupid SR system. I hate the SR system. I think the SR system's dumb. I think rating points are dumb. There's not enough incentive for really good players to keep playing the game once they've gotten their 1,000 rating JPEG. Make it so at the start of every ranked season, everyone's starting at veteran. You got to win a certain amount of games to go to the playoffs. If you max out, if you go flawless, you get into the playoffs, and then you win game 7s, and then you rinse and repeat. You go from veteran, win a bunch of World Series, go to All-Star, rinse, repeat, go to Hall of Fame, then go to Legend. You make a bunch of stub vouchers, a lot of pack vouchers. Once anybody, no matter what the rating is, they win a certain amount of World Series, you get a super juiced 99 card that's only in ranked seasons. And it doesn't matter what rating or what difficulty of the game you're playing on. If you hit X amount of World Series won in like a 2-month period, you get that card. And I think even something like that would make the landscape of just the game in general more fun, because we talk about captains. I think captains could work in a sense, but I think there has to be modes that are like dedicated to captains. Like imagine if instead of like an event, imagine in place of an event, we had
events should only be captain boosts. That should be how you spice up events.
Like imagine we had like a 2-week event where everybody's using the Santana boost and everybody's just going buck wild in there, right? And it's dead. Like you get to drop that card and use them specifically for that mode, and you can't take that card into ranked, but you have a spot to use it, right? There needs to just be more variety. Excuse me. Of where we get these cards that we want to use, and we don't just want to directly just take them all into ranked seasons with the idea that yeah, you could have this really fun team that you like, but if Joe Schmo 69 over here is running the Santana boost, well then you're going to be not having fun. Or if someone's running, whatever crazy boost is going to come down the pipeline, which I'm sure it will, it ruins the fun and excitement for people who just want to take their favorite cards, go and play a ranked game and not feel like they're at a strategic disadvantage because they're not running the meta.
Yeah. Interrupt this program real quickly to say that Alex Verdugo will probably be getting a season awards card next week because he just homered in his return to Boston. So the Yankees are great.
Yeah, that'll be fun to get in the pack.
Oh, MLB the pack. All right, let's shift gears. I mean, we just had like a valuable conversation that I hope people who have influence can listen to and take feedback from, because we all love MLB the Show. Maybe not Drew right at this very moment, but generally speaking, we do. And we just want it to be what we all know it can be. And so we're going to shift now to questions that the homies in the Discord sent in. And a couple of them most of them actually are kind of like pretty similar. A lot of people really want us to talk about like our favorite content memories and things like that. But I wanted to start with this one first. This is from Ashley Ray. Shout out Ashley in the Discord. Very active. After hearing comments from people like Anthony Rendon about not loving the game he plays, did you love the show before you did it as a creator? Or were you just really good at it and the love for the game came later? That's an interesting question. I'll just kick it off real quick. I've told this story before on the podcast. I played the show or MLB prior to it being called the show my entire life. Me and my brother would bond over it all the time. I'd beat the piss out of him because I'm 5 years older than him, and therefore superior. But baseball is just, it's been my life forever. It still is. And so I kind of got into the creating side of it during the pandemic when I had just moved to Baltimore and I knew literally not a soul in the state of Maryland. And the pandemic hit 4 months after I started my brand new job, my big boy job. And I had no one to speak to other than like talking to people on the phone. So I bought a microphone and a setup and I started talking to myself. And then here we are somehow on 200 episodes and a YouTube channel that's monetized and Twitch and all these cool people. So that's kind of how it worked for me. I don't know if you necessarily start as a creator and then say, let me try this game. And then you make that game your entire brand. I don't really know if that's how it works, but maybe you guys would be different stories.
That's how it works for me. Yeah,
is it actually? But you were a sports gamer at least though. Like it's not like you just kind of completely jumped into something new.
So like, yes and no. I have been a avid MLB The Show player since the very first game, like 2006. I got MLB The Show. I played it on PlayStation 2. And then I was an Xbox 360 kid, so I lost MLB The Show. And then when the PS4 came back and I switched from Xbox 360 to PS4, I religiously purchased MLB The Show on launch day, every single day it came out. And then when I became a lawyer, after I got some extra money, I knew I could buy some equipment to start streaming. I thought I could stream. Like I thought I had the personality to make this work. I thought I could do this. And I was for a really long time trying to figure out what is the game that I am going to kind of build my brand around. What is the game that makes sense for me to jump into content creation? And I tried FIFA at first and it wasn't really for me. And I had NHL for a while and that was fun, but that community was just super, super, super tiny. Obviously, I was never going to be able to become a big Fortnite creator, even though that was like right at the peak of the Fortnite boom. So like I started streaming MLB The Show probably a month and a half before MLB The Show 20 launched. And it just stuck. And I started developing a community in MLB The Show. And then my content came from that. So I had previously had a love of MLB The Show, but it was not my first choice for what I was going to create content on.
Gotcha. Definitely was not mine. I played it since 06, like everyone else has said. I got an Xbox 360, but then I made the mistake getting an Xbox One after that. So I went even longer without MLB The Show until about 2016. I got a PS4 and I had already messed around making really bad YouTube videos.
Oh, we've seen them.
Streaming. Yeah,
we've seen them.
YouTube videos of all time. And I decided after getting some MLB The Show, just stream it once for the fun of it. I got rated by this Joe Schmo streamer back then named Daddy Dimu TV back then, who had like a couple hundred viewers. And I was like, wait, people watch MLB The Show on here? Started streaming a bit more. met more people who pushed me to stream more MLB The Show. Back then I got into streaming because I was very antisocial in college. Started playing like Fortnite with friends, and I was into anything in that. And I was like, you know what? MLB The Show is fun. Let me get into it. And the rest is history. So I've always loved MLB The Show. But I'll tell you what, a certain part of me got driven to play more MLB The Show, not only because I was getting into it, but because I enjoyed making content with it. So I guess there's kind of a bit of that. I shifted from one game to another while I was doing content for fun.
I would not play Diamond Dynasty if I didn't make content. My whole life playing this game was franchise and Road to the Show. Up until even when I started playing MLB The Show on stream, it was franchise and Road to the Show. If it was not for creating content and realizing the meta MLB The Show content was Diamond Dynasty based, I would not be playing Diamond Dynasty.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting take. I got into DD because I wanted to get into it. I remember being on Xbox One and playing, and like going back to my 360, play MLB 2K, and I'm like, man, like this Diamond Dynasty mode, MLB The Show, seems really cool. I'd love to do that one day. And when I got into it again, like I explicitly wanted to get into Diamond Dynasty, but streaming definitely made me do it more. That is for sure. But yeah, I feel like I'd be a Diamond Dynasty nerd no matter what. Maybe not to the extent I am now, but
I would be, because I think whatever game I first played head to head in online, and I'm not even talking MLB The Show, whatever game it was, it kind of somewhat ruined offline for me. It took away the buzz of like the competition. And even if you put it at the hardest difficulty, sure, that is technically still competition. Doesn't mean you're going to win every game. But I don't know. It's just the shine wore off of it for me. So every once in a while, there might be a type of thing where I boot up a franchise and see what happens for a year, or like, Scan's playing Road to the Show right now. Spoiler alert for a future video, maybe potentially question mark.
No.
Sorry, it's already been on Twitter. It's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of competing. Now, that also opens the door to so many of the stressful issues we're talking about, where we're upset about content, we're upset about gameplay, we're upset about this, that, and the other thing. I understand that, double-edged sword. But that's just kind of where my head's always been.
So I actually have a very, I feel like I have a unique kind of way with like the content stuff. I played MLB The Show since it came out, like 06, like everybody else. My most played game outside of the last couple years for content purposes was 08 with Ryan Howard on the cover. Shout out my boy Darian. Dad was a beast in that game. Alfonso Soriano better though. Let me tell you something. And I played that a lot. I played a lot of baseball growing up. But when I transitioned over to 360 and then back to PS4, I really found a home in Madden. During my college, my freshman and sophomore year of college, I played a ridiculous amount of Madden 16 and 17, to the point where I was in like the 0.1% of MUT players for their head-to-head mode. And I fell in love with, like, similar to what you're saying, Kenny, I fell in love with like the competition part of it. In 2018, I started my first Twitch stream. I tried doing what everybody else did, which was jump on the Fortnite craze. Spoilers, I'm not Ninja, unfortunately. But I do sometimes have a low tapered fade. You know what it is. But I really I fell in love with streaming because I've always had like the personality for it. I've loved entertaining people. And I think part of it was because I never did enough of it in high school and college to like put myself in like a theater position or put myself on a stage to really entertain a lot of people. And I was able to take my favorite hobby of all time, video games, and also pair that with talking and meeting random people on the internet. And so I streamed a lot for like 2 straight years. I did a lot of Fortnite. I did a lot of Overwatch. I ran custom leagues for both of those games. I did a bunch of different things. And then when I graduated college, I kind of stopped for a little bit and took a big step back. And I was like, man, I'm not really liking Fortnite anymore. This was way before no build was even an idea in anyone's brain. And at the ripe age of 22, I'd hit my peak. I couldn't keep up with the ADHD Zoomers anymore. So I was like, damn, need a new game to play. And then I fell into a trap that Scan's currently in. It's called Destiny 2. And I played that game nonstop for 3 straight years. And I loved every second of it. I streamed it all the time. I met an insane amount of people, creators everywhere. It was such a fun time. I enjoyed every second of it. And then I bought a PS4 after selling my old one to play a Madden franchise with a bunch of my buddies. And I randomly saw MLB The Show 19 at a GameStop for like dirt cheap. And I was like, man, I haven't played a baseball game in a really long time. And then I played it 2 weeks before MLB The Show 20 came out. And I was like, damn, I kind of really like this. I'm going to go buy a capture card and start streaming this on Twitch and just see if people are actually interested in my community. And 4 years later, here we are. And I played a lot of games. I've genuinely classify myself as like more of a variety guy now, just because I like video games in general. But MLB The Show was something that like I fell in love with because it was baseball, which is my favorite sport, and it had that competition side of Madden. And I've been playing like games like I've been playing Ultimate Team modes since like 2012. I played the first Madden Ultimate Team. I played a bunch of FIFA back in the day, still do. If a sports game has an Ultimate Team mode that's not hockey, because I don't know anything about that sport like at all, I'm gonna play it. And so even if I didn't create the game, didn't like make content outside of the game currently, I would still play it a lot. It's fun. I love Diamond Dynasty specifically. I love playing against other people, and making them rage quit and having them call me fat in my PlayStation DMs.
You talking about Madden helping or not helping you in college, but like getting you through the social side of college. Me and my buddies in college, our freshman year, pretty much all we did other than doing schoolwork and then going out on the weekends was play on PlayStation 2, which I'm not that old. The system was old when I was in college. Was Tiger Woods 2002 or whatever the naming convention of it is. To this day, still the best golf video game of all time, and I don't care what else comes out. That game was perfection.
I would,
but that was what helped get me through college.
We would do very frequently on the weekends. Me and my 3 buddies who were super into Madden would take all of our PS4s and a monitor each and put them all in a room and just grind butt content. Because in 16 there was an offline mode where if you did the max reward was like a 99 Marshawn Lynch, and we did a race to see who could get there fastest. And then I found a bunch of creators for that, and like I was just, the rest is history, man.
So for me, it's kind of interesting to hear you guys talk about that, because you have both Kenny and Drew who both really like the competitive aspect of playing against other people online. And then I don't actually know if Scan enjoys it, but he's very, very good at it. And we need the community to put some more respect on Scan's name, because he was taking some shots across the bow over the last couple of months, forgetting that Scan
even like 2 weeks ago
made the finals of a tournament, like has been a very good comp player for a really long time.
Yeah,
but that's beside the point. I don't enjoy playing online video games anymore. I haven't. So I used to be like a huge Call of Duty player back in my high school and early college days. Like Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty 4, like those were my shit. Like I was regularly nuking on Modern Warfare 2. I was really good at Call of Duty back in the day. And then some point in my college years into my early adulthood, I realized playing online versus other people just kind of adds a lot of stress that I don't necessarily always enjoy in my video gaming experience.
Yeah.
So I do it obviously for content reasons, and because that's what's successful on TikTok, that's what's successful on Twitch. Although I'm not always the biggest fan of it. And that's honest to God, one of the things that I am the most excited about for EA College Football 25 is that is not going to be a online head-to-head ultimate team based game. In my opinion, it's going to be a offline forward dynasty mode road to glory game, and I can't wait for that, because I miss not having to just like sweat my ass off every single time I load into the game. So that's kind of my tangent.
Here's a little inside baseball and kind of an aside. I had said before, like 30 minutes ago, that I'm not going to play EA College Football, and it's not a boycott. It's just I really have no interest in college football in person on TV. Like I just couldn't care less. But I have like mulled over the idea, because it's going to be so popular everywhere for months and months and maybe years. Who knows if it's going to be yearly or whatever. But making like a second channel, just KDJ tries CFB, and just because I have no effing experience with it. I've never played a college football video game ever. So it's a little daunting, because like I'm not a good editor. I don't know how the editing would go. These are things to figure out in the future, but I have at least toyed with the idea of trying some sort of like offline based franchise or whatever.
Try it. It's a
yeah.
good
I mean,
idea.
here's where I lie on it. I haven't played college football at all. I haven't been planning on getting it. Like it wasn't an intent of mine, but with some friends starting or considering starting a dynasty, including this fella here, I've been considering giving it a try at least, because I feel like it would be refreshing to just play something like that, even though I don't know crap about football and just how it works. I mean, I remember just watching dudes play the older NCAAs, and I really enjoyed watching it. So I feel like it could be something fun to try. And at that point, you never know what happens. So I feel like it's a fun idea to just give it a try and see how much you actually might enjoy it. You never know what happens.
And Scan, once you and I get our feet wet, we can have a mid-off and go against each other and see what
Oh
happens.
yeah, dude. Yeah, we got to go to our true inspiration, Dimmu, who didn't know anything about it and has gone into Madden and all of that. So
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for the NCAA series. It's my favorite sports video gaming series of all time, without a doubt. That losing that game legitimately altered my brain chemistry. I am so thrilled about it coming back, but I also have a special place in my heart for NCAA 14 because it's also kind of what started to springboard my content a little bit. Like from MLB The Show 20, I was kind of stuck in the 20 to 30 viewer jail and Twitch. Like I would always get to 25, 28 viewers and then couldn't ever get past that. Like it was just, that was where I maxed and that's what it was. And then in between MLB The Show 20 and MLB The Show 21, I started a dynasty on NCAA 14 revamped.
yeah, I think I remember
really
that.
popping off during like the Barstool Big Cat days when he was doing Doug's and that kind of stuff. And that took me to like 40 to 60 viewers regularly. And then obviously with the launch of MLB The Show 21, my content kind of started taking off a little bit more. So I will always have a special place in my heart for that series. I cannot be more excited for it coming back. You guys definitely should give it a try.
Without revamped, I don't think we'd get 25. Like I genuinely like I sit there and like I look at like all the success that like I had with revamped, that like guys like Dimmu had with revamped, even dudes that aren't even in the MLB space that like are friends of ours, that like without the mod of revamped, I genuinely do not know if EA would have even thought about putting in the time and the effort. And I know this is an MLB The Show podcast, so I'm not going to glaze EA too hard because you ruined my life with FIFA. Okay, man. I know you out there.
Yeah, Mr. EA.
Yeah, Mr. EA. But I think that it's like seeing them just putting all this effort into the mode that they know people want to dive into with Dynasty, and like just seeing people talk about it already. Like if you guys are like, Not the Expert has been tweeting it a bunch, like all the cool stuff that's coming out, and like the hype surrounding that game is gonna be it's gonna be like a generational type thing. And I'm right there with Nutsy. I'm really excited for it. It's gonna be so cool, dude. I'm ready to take Akron all the way, man. I'm ready.
So Nutsy's point that he just made about just the special experience he's had with the NCAA franchise is actually a good springboard into our next set of questions, because Scott, Day, and Sportsball Fan basically all asked the same thing, which, guys, if you're reading the chat, why would you all ask the same question? But it's okay. We'll shout you all out right now. What are some of your favorite moments as a streamer, content creator, etc.? And then specifically favorite moments maybe in MLB The Show. So I'll start by saying there are a couple favorite memories for me, less as a streamer because I really don't stream a ton anymore. The game is so unfun sometimes that I really don't want to stream. But becoming a YouTube partner was super cool because that was never in my sphere of possibilities because I never even considered it happening. There was one stream a couple years ago. I want to say it was MLB 22, and Scott will correct me in the comments. I know he will because he was there. I was still not like super great at going flawless. I might have done it twice in my entire life. And we had some electric factory of a run where in my 12-0 game, I hit a walk-off homer and I went freaking nuts on stream. It was wild. That was super fun. And then, I point to these two moments a lot. And I think, Nutsy, you and I have talked about them, and other people will remember these. It was kind of a lot of people's first look into my content, was the podcast episodes that I did with Shlomo Lippitz, which was such a weird shot in the dark, and Bob Kendrick, who remains the nicest human being for giving me the time of day. Just super cool individuals, polar opposite individuals, but kind of like entrenched in MLB The Show lore now forever. And it was kind of cool to have them on the podcast and just hear from them. So those things I attribute to just me knowing how to DM people. I'm a reporter in my real life, so I know how to get in contact with folks if I need to. Shout out to Bob's I don't want to get her title wrong or whatever, but I think it was his secretary or his assistant or so, whoever works directly under him at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is the best person on earth because she directed my email to him. It's very nice. Shout out to you. Thank you. You're not listening, but shout out. Those two things for me they were a big like confidence boost for me too. It made me feel like I was doing something that people cared about, and I don't do it to see if people care. I do it because I enjoy it, but those were kind of cool moments for me. So I enjoyed doing those. Awkward silence. Who wants to go next?
Yeah. It's
I can take it.
It's tough to like.
I already have a couple of things. I think I've been thinking, and I think I have a couple of things.
You guys have been doing this for longer than I have, though. So you guys have cooler things potentially to talk about for far away.
It's a lot for me. Back in the day, it took me a couple of years to get Twitch affiliate. So I remember during the days of Blackout and Call of Duty, when I streamed that often, I got Twitch affiliate because eventually some friends realized, oh, he streams, let's watch his stream. And got affiliate. That was very fun. Of course, like Twitch partner, like those milestones were fun to me. I would say the most recent thing that has been fun has been commentating on SES's channel. Great memory to be on, like in the commentator booth with Robert Flores is a very cool thing.
That's sick. Yeah.
And very thankful for that opportunity to have been a part of that. And there are so many other things, but there's one thing that I actually don't talk about, which would be a fun thing to mention.
Breaking news. Get the breaking graphic ready.
Yeah. There's actually a little bit of tea here.
Ooh.
And this is why it's a core memory for me. Last year, or in the beginning of 2023, I was kind of burnt out on content and kind of with it all. And I saw there was a job position open at SDS for a esports job. And I went through, applied. I'd actually talked to them at TwitchCon, and they're like, hey, you should apply for the esport job. And I had done it. I had a little call interview thing. It went well. And I found out I didn't get the job. And the reason why this memory is a big deal is because back then I was on the fence with content of, do I just keep doing content like I had been? Do I try something different, like taking a job at SDS? And I didn't get that job. And I was like, you know what? Forward into the YouTube game like I want to do. And that is a big thing that caused me to shift direction like I did. And now the YouTube channel is the thing I'm genuinely most proud of, the thing I enjoy most, and has carried me to this day. So a lot of that doesn't happen because of that memory I have of seeing that.
And Nutsy was saying this before recording, and I've told you this before, and I'm sure Drew has told you this, and a million people have told you this, but the direction that you've taken your stuff this year, first of all, what timing? Second of all, I mean, it's been so interesting and so cool and so unique. Like you truly, you deserve the flowers, as the kids say.
Yeah. Scan and Ants are doing something on YouTube for MLB The Show that there's not a single other creator in this community doing. And I cannot commend them enough for going out into the ether and stepping away from the same things that everyone else is doing and just absolutely killing it. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They're obviously both very, very successful in making that change, and just massive kudos to both of them.
And who will win the cheesy home run war between Scan and Ants? Who's gonna figure out how to break the game first?
Oh, it's already over. Ants is done.
Ants is done, bro. Ants is cooked. That guy's dead.
Ants is a big part of it, though. Like Drew knows, like, but we were both in the same boat. He was more so in the stub information and tips route of DD information, like we were doing, and we were both at the same point of like, what do we do? Like, we don't really enjoy this. We see other content out there in other communities that we enjoy. And it all started from like a similar type of spark that we had. So, I mean, some people might not notice, but Ants and I talk about stuff YouTube wise all the time. We talk about like any questions and advice that we learn and stuff. We amongst others talk about these things often. So he really is a big part of this whole journey too. So it's been cool to see what he's done. It's just been cool to see how everyone's responded to it because it's new and no one's done stuff like that. So it's been cool to see the positivity around it all. And I'm hoping, while we don't love MLB The Show 24, that maybe more people feel more comfortable to push their own personal boundaries and try different things. I think NCAA is a big part of that coming here soon.
And shout out to Ants. He was, of course, invited to this conversation, but he had an early Father's Day dinner.
Oh,
We
tomato,
gotta check,
tomato,
make sure
tomato.
he's not playing RuneScape.
Way to brag.
We
Way
gotta
to
get a guy on that.
Hold on,
way to
I'm
brag
loading right
about
now.
having a father. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So Ants, of course, and others were invited to this. I appreciate everybody who's always been on the show, but a lot of people could not make it tonight. And that is okay. We've got a core group of homies and 2 more people who still need to share their favorite memes.
Okay, man. Okay, man. We'll go. That's I'm taking your fire right now. I want you
Okay.
to know that. Well, I actively, definitely am not logging into RuneScape on the side to see if Ants is actually playing and just dodging us. When I started streaming, genuinely, I wanted to just like the whole goal for me was I wanted just to make more friends within games. Like not spoiler alert. I make very good money doing what I do professionally, being in a software dev. So I don't being an engineer rather. I'm an engineer, holy moly. So this has always been just like something I like to do for fun. And bouncing around different communities was always difficult because I never really felt like outside of like Destiny, before I moved to the show, I never really felt like I met a bunch of people. And then I met this dude named Day Holy Grail, and subsequently I met this smelly Yankee fan named Scan, right? Like 4 years ago. And they both like really like taught me a bunch, like kind of brought me in with like when they were already moving along. They kind of like tugged the rope and pulled me with, and I got to meet a bunch of really cool people. I think one of my favorite memories, genuinely, outside of the obvious All-Star Game stuff that we all did last year, was when Modern Warfare 2 was about to come out 2 years ago. I remember seeing a random tweet that Scanna put out saying how excited he was, and I DM'd him. I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna play this game. Are you gonna play this game?" And then I got thrown into a group chat on Twitter with a bunch of different people in it that I never really interacted with, like guys like Ants and like Thune and guys like J Mills and a bunch of people like that I never really talked to ever in the space, because meeting people in this space, while it is a smaller community, wasn't easy for me. And so getting to be put in that position, and now looking back on that 2 years later and realizing that not only have I met a bunch of these dudes in person, I basically play video games with these guys every single day and talk to them all the time. I FaceTimed Ants the other day because my lawnmower broke, and like he lives obviously on the other side of the country from me, because we have the same lawnmower, and like him and Scan and I keep each other accountable for like weight loss stuff. And it's just like really cool to see a bunch of dudes that like I always like watched on Twitch and like YouTube and saw their content, and now I consider them some of like my closest friends. That's like genuinely like nothing will ever trump that. I could make a bajillion dollars from stream tomorrow. Jeff Bezos and anybody else that's rich could dump all their donations into Twitch chat, and nothing will ever, not to get sappy on cam, but nothing will ever just genuinely top like the friendships that I've made through this community and through any community ever. So like I'm very thankful for this game for giving me that, because I would not have it without it.
Yeah, and as a friend, I'm disappointed that Jeff Bezos donating $1 billion wouldn't trump that. Honestly, I'm disappointed in
Ants
you
is on
that.
RuneScape.
Maybe his dinner ended. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, for me, I am a little bit like Drew, where obviously people know that I have a very successful career outside of the MLB The Show content landscape. So this was never supposed to be a career for me. It was something that I thought I could do. It was something I thought I had the personality to do. And then everything over the last 5 years almost has been me proving to myself that I could do it. So there's been some my favorite moments have been moments that have validated to me that I was correct and I can do this. First of all, you have the actual in-game moments, like hitting World Series for the first time in MLB The Show 21 is something that I will remember always. It's one of my favorite moments ever. But then to see like the growth on TikTok and the growth on Twitch, and like watching those numbers climb up and climb up and climb up, and hitting Twitch partner and hitting Twitch affiliate, and all of these like these things that do mean a lot for someone, because, you know, regardless, I know there's a lot of memes that's like, oh, you know, all you guys do is play video games for a living. It's so easy to be a content creator. Like, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into being successful at this. Like this, I'm not saying what we do is the hardest thing in the world by any means, but when you have your hard work and time and effort kind of validated, it feels very, very good. I Some of my favorite moments on stream is always the all-star content drops, because for some reason it seems like every year when the all-star content goes live, I am the only person streaming on Twitch, because other creators go to the all-star games, or other creators do other things, and then I end up
Like sleep.
yeah. End up having a bunch of people in my chat asking me 500 times when the packs are going to drop, and me having to tell them I don't know, I don't work at SDS. But those all-star game content drops have been some of my favorite moments of all time. But probably my peak moment as a content creator is the first time I got an email directly from SDS asking to send me a launch box.
That's friggin' cool.
I remember
it's
so
cool.
vividly seeing that Sony email address pop up on my screen and being like, oh, I have made it in this community. Like I have made it. They know who I am. They know who I am as a content creator. And that that validation of all the hard work and effort you put into a creator to get to that point literally is so hard to touch. It's so hard to top.
Yeah. This is the first year I've been involved in conversations like that. And the first time I got I think it was a Twitter DM from Seabrev, I was like, oh my God, what does he want? Am I in trouble? What happened? And then, being involved and being in the room, even if my opinion means nothing, and to some people it means nothing, but even just being in the room is, like you said, like the most validating thing. If validation can like bring you confidence and bring you all these types of things, I mean, that's like the biggest confidence boost you could get.
Yeah, I think the thing at its core that makes it cool is like we love the game in and out. Like we talked about, it's a game that we've played since 06. Like for me, it was like a childhood game that I just hopped on and liked, and I got back into making content with it. And to the point where like they want to even acknowledge my existence. Like, hey, like we see what you're doing. We see you enjoy the game. Here you go. Is a very like special thing. So I feel like for all of us there, that'll always be like an undertone of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the level of like when you put in a lot of work and content, like you make 200 episodes of a podcast, or you upload hundreds of TikToks over the span of years, or you spend hours streaming, and it grows into this number that you see, and it's tough to really absorb those things. But when people that make something that you enjoy recognize you, it's a very meaningful thing. Makes it feels like that your work is impactful and you're doing something that is making a difference out there. So I think that's why those things are so special. And a lot of people will talk on Twitter and be like, oh, you're just trying to be nice to get another package. Or a lot of people try to make a game out of things like that, when really for a lot of us, it's just special to just get that acknowledgement because of how much we love the game.
Yeah, and I do think, and this is where all the people are going to come like, oh, you're a shill. But I do genuinely think that when people who have relationships with SDS make negative comments in a somewhat constructive fashion, the people at SDS aren't like, I hate that person. Like, they know nothing. Everyone should know everything they do isn't perfect. Like, there's no such thing as perfect. So I have tried my best to shift ever so slightly to F this, F the game, F, to more of a, this is bad, but let's say why, and let's say how we can fix it. I think that's a natural evolution that most level-headed human beings should make. But I do think there is room to criticize and not be a shill, but also just still be like, hey, this stuff is cool. I'd like to keep getting cool stuff. And Nutsy, you see it in TikTok comments, I'm sure, constantly, because TikTok is a cesspool.
Oh, I mean, we've all seen it. We've all posted about it recently.
Yeah.
Cam tweeted a day ago about how people are saying he nonstop complains or calling him a shill. I see it in every single comment thread that I have. I will tell, and you can believe me or not believe me. At the end of the day, I don't really care. I know I am telling the truth, and I know I'm telling my truth. I have never once
Speak your truth.
had an SDS employee reach out to me and say, I need you to not say what you're saying. They have always told me, even in the instructions we get with the launch boxes
Yes.
about what we can and what we have to post, we have to do the ad disclosures or whatever. They always say, post your honest interactions, post your honest reactions. And as long as as long as you're not attacking the devs, as long as you're not saying outlandish, super out of pocket things about the game or the people creating the game, they're always going to be okay with getting constructive feedback and hearing the negatives that you have about the game and the positives you hear about the game. That's just part of being a content creator. That's part of and I vented my frustration a little bit about it yesterday, about all I see in my comment sections is game's dead, yada yada yada, this game's fried, whatever. I mean, just go read my TikTok comments from the content drop video I posted today.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I understand that people view me and view all of the people here on this podcast right now as kind of a soundboard to the developers. They can come bring their complaints to us, and then we can kind of push it on to the people higher than us, the people that actually worked on the game. So as frustrating as it is to hear those complaints day in and day out, like, I understand that people view us as kind of the people that can get their complaints to the people that need to hear them.
Yeah.
So it's always like being open and honest about the state of the game has always been something that SDS has been very upfront and honest about wanting to hear. So,
and truly, there are people in my YouTube comments who like there's a difference, right, between someone who is complaining and someone who is hateful and complaining. Like, I love this game, and I'm complaining about it. There are people who feel the exact same way as me, who want nothing more, like all of us here, who want nothing more than for this game to be fun, who are just like in the comments like, yeah, man, another bad drop. What are they going to do? Like that to me is acceptable. That to me is starting discourse. That's appropriate. Also great for the algorithm. But there are so many people who, and again, I think all of us forget how many children are active in comment sections. Or uneducated people. But, there are people who don't articulate their thoughts or have control of their heads the same way others do. And so I have gotten good at A, ignoring, and B, letting you know when you are very incorrect. So on YouTube, there are days when I wake up and I'm a little snappy, and you will get the snapback if you deserve it. So just an FYI.
Yeah, it's a weird part of being in the social media game, and like especially with what we do. Like, a lot of us are very analytical about the game. We talk about a lot of our thoughts and feedback on things. So in the name of that, you have a lot of discourse going on in comments, and yeah, part of the game of learning it, like how to deal with it, is just recognizing, okay, maybe this person, they're very upset about the game. Something caused them to not like this game, and you know what? They're okay to have their opinion. Just let them exist. We don't need to clash because of these things. Just, everyone has their own takes on things. They all this is one thing that's been a real change in my head over the last couple of years, having slightly stepped back from the DD community, is that at the end of the day, everyone plays the game differently, and we all find different things that we enjoy. And even the people who come in with the dead game, oh, this game sucks type thing, they have something in their head that tell them to think their way. I'm in no position to try to convince them otherwise or tell them they're wrong for feeling that way. They feel that way, it's up to them. But as long as you don't really go at me for feeling for me feeling how I feel about something, like if I enjoy something, doesn't mean I'm trying to be a shill just because I'm sharing that I enjoy something, or vice versa. If I'm being critical on something, doesn't mean I'm just trying to hate on it to hate on it,
Yeah, I had an unfortunate perfect storm, like I think most of us did, during launch week when we got the launch boxes announced. Hey, we got launch boxes. And then the game was so good for like 6 days. And they were like, oh my God, you're such a shill. This game, blah, blah, blah. You're just saying that because you got the box. I have since very much walked those comments back because the game has taken a sharp turn the other direction. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that is like an ever evolving part of how I handle these things. And listen, at the end of the day, I appreciate if you take the time to comment on my video. That means A, you listened to something I said at some point and reacted to it. So I appreciate your time. I hope you keep coming back. And I'm realizing we've been going for a little bit. So we're gonna begin to close this episode with something that I have not done in a long time with guests. I don't know. Not seeing Scan. We might have done this. I don't remember. I used to close every episode with a guest asking a legend from their favorite team that is not yet in the game that they'd like to have. I haven't done that in so long. It kind of phased out. But this is a celebration anniversary episode. So we're going to bring it back. Mr. Drew, if there was one legend in this video game that you could get from the Cubbies that we don't already have, who would it be?
I would really like them to not be in a chase pack, if please. Step one.
You mean you're not going to spend 150K for Christopher Morel tops now, which is not a good card?
I'm not going to comment on these things right now. Thank you for asking. I have been clawing tooth and nail for a Carlos Zambrano card. I'm very fortunate enough to have had my favorite player and the CEO of Corkbats United, Sammy Sosa, get into the game. So now that he's there, I would really like to see a Carlos Zambrano card. Now, obviously, it kind of stinks because he was also a really good hitter, and you can't hit with pitchers anymore. But I mean, please don't take away the DH. don't. I don't ever want to swing with a pitcher ever again. Please.
See, that's a cool pick, and that's why I used to like asking so much, because the same era Cubs, I would immediately shift to Aramis Ramirez and Derek Lee.
He's numbered. They're 2 and 3 on the list. I think I just want to see. It's weird because we got like last year. I got Sammy Sosa, Jake Arrieta's back in the game this year. A Javi Baez with vision higher than my blind Nana would be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. But Carlos Zambrano, I think he would be absolutely my number one pick.
Cool. Nutsy, what do you think?
So I don't want to cop out and just be like Barry Bonds, right?
Yeah, you do.
That's illegal. We're Barry Bonds.
But like the Pirates have been very fortunate to get like virtually every good player that they've had throughout their history, all the way back to Honus Wagner in the game at this point. And to be fair, the Pirates have had not a very good history in the last 30 years to pick a player from. Although I will say we took 2 fat L's this year, losing Jason Kendall and Dave Parker, who make up 2 very big portions of the Pirates theme team that are no longer, like, the Pirates legitimately don't have a catcher.
And I don't know if Dave Parker ever got enough shine in this video game. That man had a great swing, and he never had a juicy card.
Yeah, and I was so excited because I got that Dave Parker bobblehead that I posted on Twitter a couple of days ago. I was like, I can't wait to use him this year. And then everyone in my comments was like, oh, sorry, bad news, but so unfortunate. So in the name of the game that the Pirates no longer have a legend catcher for their theme team, give me Russell Martin.
Ooh, that's a good one. That'd be fun.
I would love Russell Martin back in the game. He'd be, you could repurpose that Johnny Cueto moment that the Pirates, really the only Pirates playoff moment that they've had in the last 30 years. Russell Martin would be a great addition.
Former Yankee great. He'd be cool because he was a catcher who actually played infield, not like Jorge Posada for that one moment in time.
Yeah.
All right, Scan, what do you got? Let's acknowledge the obvious first of all.
We're spoiled as Yankee fans with the storyline stuff. We've been blessed. CeCe Sabathia was probably one of my answers when you asked me this last time.
It might have been.
So the fact that he has cards now, fantastic. And A-Rod's a cop-out.
Yep.
So he would be my answer. So I think the only other player that would really move me like A-Rod would is like Mark Teixeira.
Mm-hmm.
And technically Robinson Cano, since he would like technically be a legend, but I don't know how probable that is, but Mark Teixeira would be my guy.
Yeah, Mark Teixeira for sure. Fun fact, I was in the press conference for his retirement when he was crying. That was just, I don't mean to bring out the sad moment, but that was cool.
Flex.
But I don't think this will happen because of his past, but like having an outfield of actually Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle would be super cool. Yes. But I'm pretty sure Joe DiMaggio maybe didn't do some fantastic things, or at least I wasn't alive for it, but I don't think he's going to happen. Either way, Yankees fans are spoiled, and I'm sorry to the commenters that I even asked Scan who else he wants, because now it feels like we're entitled.
I don't know if I need him, but like, what, you want me to say Hideki Matsui? Like,
I mean, still, yeah,
that's who I want.
Would love Matsui, but like, I know that tier of player isn't nearly as high as some other players we need. So, we could put that way on the back burner.
Yeah. Everybody, the four of you, the 3 of you plus me, that's 4. Thank you guys for being part of the fabric, the lore of the show, the podcast. 200 episodes. Like I said, I am stunned that I've committed 4+ years of my life to this. I want to give a special shout out to all the previous guests, the ones who couldn't make it today. RuneScape's Nance, but that's I'll talk to him separately. But also the people who helped get me into this community: Shane, Chris, Slice, Richie. You guys know who you are. I appreciate you. You guys listen, and you guys are always around for fun conversations and saying stuff about the game. So I appreciate you guys. Slice, by the way, just finished his architect's program. Congratulations, Slice. I just got the noti. But that's going to be it, guys, for episode 200 of the show, the podcast. 200 more, question mark? I don't know about that, but I'm getting old. I'm going to start a family soon. But this has been fun. This has been a ride. I appreciate everybody who interacts with the show, who comes around, listens, does the whole nine. Like, subscribe, of course, dude. It goes without saying. And that'll be it. I will see you guys next week for episode 201. Awesome. Where do we stop the recording? Where's the button? Scan. Relax, scan.
You're not
I
gonna
wasn't
get to
even